when you had AirPods, parang you're considered wealthy or rich. So people would sometimes equate their net worth to their own self-worth. But at the end of the day, right, sometimes you're buying something not because you actually want it, but because someone else had it.
From Sorano Hoshi, for absolute beginners po, where should we start? I guess this might be from the perspective of personal finance. Yeah, let's answer it from that.
Okay, so more on money management. Well, okay, so
Yeah.
I need to know more about the profile of this person. But if you're saying, okay, so if we're talking in steps, I would say the first thing that you need to do, which you mentioned earlier, is to find ways to, invest in yourself so that you could earn more later on. So once you're able to create that stable source of income for you, then of course you need to learn how to handle your finances. So the first thing that you can do is to record your expenses or to create a budget for yourself. So I know a lot of people tend to shy away from this, or minsan yung iba sabihin nila kuripot daw if nag-budget ka. But, a way to view yourself is to, again, run yourself like a business. So I tell this to people all the time, right? Imagine a business trying to profit, but they don't keep track of their expenses. So it's the same thing for yourself. You can run yourself like a business so that you can determine your own profitability. And the only way for you to know that is, of course, if you write it down. So it doesn't matter where it is. You can write it down on a piece of paper, on an Excel spreadsheet, or using an app. You just need to know your numbers. Because mahirap na you run the numbers in your head. It's very difficult to do that. Because sometimes people go, oh, I can afford that, or I don't think I can afford that. But how do you know you can afford it if you don't even know your own financial numbers? So I would say that's the first step that you need to take.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect answer. I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks, Tony. From Patrick, can you give us the top 5 practical tips about money? Top 5, I would say, is probably going to be the 5 steps, right? Number 1, establish a positive cash flow. Number 2, get out of debt. Establish your emergency fund, or if you're running a business, we call that a safety net. Get insured, because you have to protect and secure your money-making assets. If that's yourself, then it's yourself. If that's your business, then it's your business. And lastly, invest to grow your money.
That's the perfect answer you've said. But if we're talking more practical tips, like, is it more of how do you save while spending? Or sige, maybe I could talk about how, sige, let's make it more actionable. So one thing that you can do is to time your purchase. So we know that the common financial mistake is when people buy things right away. So syempre, nabudol tayo ng Lazada or Shopee. So what you can do is to, I would say, follow the 3-month rule, or at least a 3-week rule. Okay, so let me back it up by research. So they say that whenever you go shopping or whenever you splurge your money, research has shown that the dopamine doesn't actually hit from the purchase itself, or it doesn't come from the purchase itself. It comes from the anticipation of the purchase. So when you delay your gratification, or when you put off your purchase to a different time, then you can come think to yourself na, okay, maybe I don't really need this item, or I don't really need to buy this online. So that's one tip that I could give. And then maybe another one would be to negotiate price when possible. So when you're buying, every chance you get, you need to ask, okay, can you do a better price for me, right? Because what's the worst thing that can happen if you ask for a discount, right? They might say no, but that's just as bad as it gets. And if they say, okay, we'll bring it down, then at least it's a gain for you. So you can do this when you're purchasing car insurance, or when you're buying things online, pwede din yun.
Very, very good tips right there. So yeah, it's good to know that the dopamine hit is from the anticipation of the purchase. So if you want to get a perpetual steady hit of dopamine, never buy that item. Always anticipate it.
Right.
Right now we have a lot of questions. It's actually filling up the comments board. So I'm going to go ahead and pick one for you.
All right.
Patrick says, what are the financial mistakes most Filipinos make, and how can they avoid it?
Okay, so I think the first one that comes on top of my head is lifestyle inflation, or keeping up with other people's lifestyle. So more often than not, especially with the generation or the situation that we're in, we have this flex culture that's actually killing our savings or our ability to invest for our future. And more often than not, it's really mostly because people are buying things to impress other people. So I still remember when AirPods was a thing in our batch, and then when you had AirPods, parang you're considered wealthy or rich. So people would sometimes equate their net worth to their own self worth. But at the end of the day, right, sometimes you're buying something not because you actually want it, but because someone else had it. Another mistake that I can think of is maybe paying yourself last also. So sometimes how people do it is whenever they receive their income, they immediately spend or pay for their bills. But there's this formula that you can actually follow wherein you'd actually be able to save or set aside money. So it has been proven already that our human behavior is driven not by the rational part of our brain, but our emotions. So that's why it's very difficult for majority of us or for beginners to start saving. And that's why they say a best way to go about it is to just automate your savings first. Basically, pay yourself first or treat savings like paying a bill because you're paying for your future. Right? You're working so hard to earn money, and the last thing that you want is, of course, for your hard-earned money to go to something that will not even make you happy in 10 or 15 years' time. So before you start paying your bills, it's very important that you save first. And then another mistake is since now a lot of people are starting to get into investing and a lot of people are taking interest in the stock market. So a mistake is probably waiting too long before you start investing, right? But the thing is, the longer you put off investing, then the harder it is for you to get into the same level of financial freedom as someone who starts investing earlier. So it's very important that while it's good to plan, while it's good to study, attend webinars, or listen to talks like this, then you have to eventually take action. So those are the mistakes that the top mistakes that are common even among the zillennials nowadays.
That's the perfect answer. Like that's it. The last time that this was asked was when I had Fitz on the show, and all I said was financial mistakes. Usually when people buy stuff they don't need with money they don't have. That's it. So yeah, that for me is the usual financial mistake. From Patrick, what are the financial mistakes you had before when you were young that you learned from a lot? I'd say getting into the stock market when I haven't yet studied a lot about it. I mean, I've read books. I've read Warren Buffett's book. I've read some books, but relying on those books alone, I think I didn't have the knowledge, to be honest. Technical investing is very, very important. Warren Buffett is a fundamental investor. As long as the business makes sense for him, he invests. And when he invests, it's 5 years minimum and to infinity, right? We don't know how long he holds a position when he invests. It could be very, very long. But I find that in this day and age where things are snappy, things happen fast, technical investing is really, really important. And how I learned it would be from Marvin Guillermo. Stock Smarts. I mean, that's really how I learned it. I cannot make this up. Again, I'm not being paid to say this, but really his workshop is priceless. It's priceless, and I learned a lot from that, and that helped me to make money in the stock market. That helped me to make money in the crypto market as well because it's the same technical charts that you look at when you're investing in cryptocurrency. We have one from Jelly May. What's a personal finance learning that made a huge impact in your life? Something that shifted your mindset when it comes to managing your finances. Okay. I didn't grow up rich at all. Middle income, I'd say. So from a young age I already knew the value of money. Money is so easy to spend but very hard to earn. That's what I know about money. And so growing up, I really saved a lot. I saved a lot, as much as I could. But I also had a weakness, and that's playing computer games. And so when I was in college, I'd spend lots of money playing computer games and playing trading card games as well. I love playing games. It's my vice. I'd say it's my vice. I don't want to say that because like there are a lot of people who play computer games in a moderate basis just to wind down. And that's how I play now, just to wind down. But I spent a lot of money during that time. So I guess that made a huge impact in me. The money's so easy to spend, but so hard to earn. That's why I save a lot of what I make right now. And I don't spend needlessly, even today. My wife always tells me this, that I should save more and I should spend less. But I also tell her, what am I working so hard for if I don't spend some? Because my wife is like super kuripot, right? She's a super saver. She just saves and saves and saves for emergencies or for investments, and she's really good at that, and she doesn't spend. Like, between the both of us, it's my wife who saves even more, and I already consider myself as a saver. I save a lot already, but she saves even more, and she saves in an even more disciplined way. So there's just almost no way that we're going to be spending so much money more than we can make, because we both save. We both love saving. It's both important for us. So yeah, but my goal is always to just be able to generate more revenue, make more money, rather than always be kuripot for myself, or be always be parang super tipid or super kuripot sa sarili. I don't want to live life like that. If I want to spend for something, I want to be able to spend for it, even if I don't really do, but I want to be able to spend for that, if you know what I mean.
Oh, hey, and since you're here, can you do me a favor? Can you hit on the subscribe button and hit the bell button and select all notifications so that whenever we have a new video, you're going to be the first one to know. Until then, keep leading.
So growth is always part of the equation. Where strategic comes in is to make sure that that growth is aligned with your vision. Because so many companies get distracted by the new shiny object. Competition is doing this. We got to react and do the same thing. Totally takes you, off course. I'm a Coca-Cola and I'm about refreshment, and Pepsi's launching all kinds of chips. You don't see Coca-Cola going into that market because it's not refreshing, right? The key for strategic growth is to make sure that it's aligned with your vision.